Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Marketing for Learning podcast. It's Hannah here with you today, and I know I promised you another duo episode. I should know better than to actually speak these things into existence. Ash and I had intended to record a live episode at the Learning Network's Connect event, but the day just ran away with us. We just had far too much fun. And we didn't get around to recording an episode. But I do want to talk to you about something that kind of came to a head at LN Connect, but it's been on my mind for a while. And it's all about our value as an L&D function and what we do to demonstrate that value. I unfortunately hear many L&D professionals talking along the lines of, well, there's an inherent value to learning and development. Of course, everybody knows we're valuable. And it's just not the case. That's not the world we're living in. So I want to talk a bit about that assumption and why I think it's so dangerous. But I also want to talk about the flip side of it, about the fact that we do very little to prove our value in learning and development, and that needs to change. I did a whole session on the 6 marketing skills L&D professionals need to level up their learning game, and data was one of them. Understanding data and using data. So I want to talk about that a bit more as well. So let's get into it. All right, so first things first, I've had a conversation within the last month where somebody directly said to me, but there is an inherent value to learning and development. Sure, absolutely. We think that. Those of us that work in learning and development are thinking about L&D day in, day out. We're always thinking about learning, how we can learn, how we can help others learn. Learning is our bread and butter. We know that there's an inherent value to learning. But when we really think about workplace learning, corporate learning, professional learning and development, learning as an adult, is that inherent value actually understood or agreed by anyone outside of L&D? I'm not convinced it is. In fact, I'm going to go as far to say as it isn't. If you speak to any adult about what we do, if you tell them that you're an L&D manager, a CLO, an e-learning developer, whatever your role is, if you tell somebody that's your role, I bet that at least half of them, and that's me being very generous, would roll their eyes and be like, ugh, that stuff. The general population do not see us as valuable. Nobody in the business assumes this inherent value of our function. Honestly, many people still see us as a tick box exercise. And the longer we continue to think about ourselves as inherently valuable and therefore absolutely indispensable to the business, we're going to keep putting ourselves in this really tricky situation. We're putting ourselves in a situation where we think we're so valuable that we don't need to prove it. We don't need to talk about it. We just do the do and people know. And then we wonder why people are looking at us saying, what are you doing? We wonder why our budgets get cut. Why restructurings keep affecting us so badly. And no, of course, I'm not saying that we can solve all of these problems overnight just by demonstrating some value. But if we took demonstrating our value as part of our day-to-day roles a lot more seriously, then I think we'd get somewhere a lot quicker. As I said at the start of this podcast, this whole conversation seemed to come to a head at LN Connect. And there's been a few posts on LinkedIn afterwards. And one of the comments on those posts actually said, why do L&D hate being seen as a cost centre? And the argument put forward was really interesting because there are many business functions that are cost centres. We do spend money, but that doesn't undermine their value. Things like marketing, of course, I resonate with that. It doesn't undermine the value of us to be seen as a cost centre. And I actually agree, because I don't think no matter what we do, we'll stop being a cost centre. Because there's never going to be that really direct correlation between, hey, you went on this training course, so you made the business £100. That's never going to be, not anytime soon at least, a direct correlation we can make. I think L&D's gripe with being labelled as a cost centre again comes back to the fact that we don't prove our value. Marketers put themselves on the line all the time to say, hey, look, we ran this campaign, it generated this much interest for the business. Maybe that's inbound leads or website visits or things that can be demonstrated, measured, looked at to say, hey, that worked. They are doing something that is in the best interest of the business. You can follow that thread. If it then goes through to sales and you win that business, you can prove that impact on the business bottom line. Again, L&D doesn't do that. So as much as I really enjoyed the challenge of what's wrong with being a cost centre, there's nothing wrong with being a cost centre if we're proving our value. And I think that's where a lot of our problems come back to. So how do we prove our value as L&D professionals? Most of us don't have that data to prove the performance change, that real needle shifting thing that we'd like to see. And those organisations that do, you're so lucky. I'm jealous of you. Not many of my clients have been in that position, and you're incredibly fortunate. But for those of us that don't have that insight and that real performance change piece, how do we prove our impact? Well, for me, it comes back, firstly, to the way we approach learning. As L&D leaders, we must stop thinking about our functions as doing program upon program upon program. All too often, if I talk to an L&D leader, they say, okay, this is our plan for the next year. It's a conversation I've had a lot lately, given that we're nearing the end of 2024. And these are our plans for next year. This is our objective for next year. And all they are giving me is a list of programs. We need to take a step back and think of that big picture. How do all of these programs link together? How does that experience for that one employee that might take numerous amounts of these programs, how does that impact them? How does it improve their day job? What are we doing to actually make the story make sense of our offering? We need to do more of that big picture thinking, strategic thinking about our function. It's not good enough anymore to just do program by program learning. In the debate panel that I was in towards the end of the day at LN Connect, it was the topic was about proving the value of L&D. And somebody said, but what if the organisation just expect us to be those learning monkeys? We're just putting learning out and out and out. If that's coming from senior leaders and senior stakeholders, what do we do then? And my answer to that, if you're feeling that way, might come across quite abrupt. But we have to take ownership of our craft. We have to stop blaming other people for the reasons L&D don't quite work very well. All of our shortcomings, are they somebody else's fault? We are the learning and development experts. Well, you are. I'm a marketer, but I like to think I know what I'm talking about. We are experts in this field and we need to take ownership of that. If somebody is really pushing you to do something that you don't think is going to be beneficial, that you don't think will impact the business goals, say that. Push back. Be confident. Be brave. Be bolshy. Channel your inner marketer. I've often said marketers are some of the most annoying people in the world because we say, why? I disagree. Channel that. Do that for yourselves. Take ownership over your skill and your craft. Granted, there's not always the welcoming acceptance of our pushbacks. But then test. If you're saying that you're expected to pump out X amount of programs, run a little test, think big picture, link some of these programs together, run a campaign, see how that works, alongside pumping it all out like your leaders expect you to. And then you can go to them and say, hey, look, this approach worked a lot better. But we must start taking ownership. We cannot prove the value of L&D if we have not created value with L&D. We need to start taking ownership of our craft and saying, yep, this is the best route to action. This is how we are actually impacting the business bottom line. This is why we are so valuable. And sing it from the rooftops. Stop assuming that people know that. And just while I'm here, I just mentioned the business bottom line and the business goals. And I've had this conversation again a few times over the last month or so. L&D professionals, scaringly, do not know the business goals. We asked the room at LN Connect. I would say there's probably about 40 people in the room. And we said, how many of you know your business goals? 2 people put their hands up. 2. 2 people out of 40. That's not a good percentage. 5 if you want the precise percentage. It's not good enough. No matter how senior you are, no matter how junior you are, you should know what the business is working towards and what part you are playing in that journey. You can be the smallest cog in the machine, but you are a crucial cog and you should know why you're there. You should know the impact you are having. We exist to serve the business and its people. We have to know the direction our organisation is going in to make sure that our learning and development opportunities line up with that. So we're actually contributing to achieving that objective. That's the only way we're going to be valuable. And that's the best way, if you are doing that, to prove your value. Directly correlating your L&D strategies and your L&D actions with the business strategy. So I hope this episode has given you some food for thought about how we can actually prove our value as an L&D function. And I truly believe in the value of learning and development. It's why I've worked in this industry so long. It's why I love this industry so much. I believe in its value, but I also believe that we as L&D professionals need to start shouting about it. We need to start proving it. Use the marketing skills and thinking that we've been talking about on 108 episodes. I think this is episode 108 of the podcast. Use those to also market upwards. Market to your stakeholders. Say to them, hey, look, this is the value. This is what's in it for you to have us here as an L&D function. Value has been spoken about so much recently because of the horrible reasons that restructurings are taking place a lot in our industry. I know some people listening to this might be in really difficult situations. But that kind of tells me now more than ever, we need to prove our value and our impact. There's a whole concept from Seth Godin. I don't know if he coined it, but he sent the email that I read about it. And it's about market insulation. How you can be too caught up in your market to realize what's going on away from the market. And I think we've got a bit of L&D insulation going on. We're also caught up in our teams, in our functions, in the day-to-day humdrum of what we do, and we love doing it, that we're not realizing what's going on in the rest of the organization and the part we play in that and how we have to demonstrate it. So please start thinking about the value you create and how you can prove it. If you have any questions or want to talk to me any further about this topic of creating value in L&D, please do reach out. I'm really happy to talk through with anyone about this. I'm going to link some episodes in the show notes about data and data interpretation. Please do check them out because data is our best friend when it comes to topics like this. Proving the value. All senior stakeholders, your C-suite, they'll all speak in numbers. So if we can prove some of the numbers there, we'll be getting somewhere a lot quicker than we currently are with smile sheets and bums on seats. So please do check out those resources, and I will see you on the next episode of the Marketing for Learning podcast. See you later, guys.